Welcome to our first episode, our first week of Unlimited Online. This is the Nations International Church Youth Ministry, and we wanted to invite you and to help you participate in what we're doing. And we are going to do that by talking about some things this week and hopefully every week that will get you engaged, that will help you participate, that will teach you about God and your relationship with Him. And this is the purpose of Unlimited. This is the purpose of church. This is the purpose of life. All right, so let's get ahead and get started on our lesson. Now, we can start with week 1, Jesus' baptism. This is this week's lesson. Please remember the topic. Here we go. And the memory verse, we're jumping right back into the memory verse that we used to have, and you guys should remember. We used to have a memory verse, and let's see what it is. Now, all of us can come to the Father through the same Holy Spirit because of what Christ has done for us. This is Ephesians chapter 2, verse 18. And this is also holy math. Remember what we learned before, that 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. Because the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are all one in the same. If you can think of an example of that, you can think that there's not a perfect example or illustration, but here's a pretty good one, and the idea of water. Water can be ice, water can be liquid, water can be gas. 3 states of matter, but it's still one element, right? Which is water, H2O. So please think of it that way, and to help you a little bit. But your shekel challenge, which this is a shekel challenge for not a paper shekel anymore, but we're doing kind of online digital shekels. And what you can do is think of another example, right? Think of something else that consists in 3 and 1, or more than 3 possibly, but limit it to just choose 3 of the options. And then email that answer to Miss Kelly at kellypock@thenations.asia. And it's going to be in the description below in the YouTube channel, but you need to also email her and look that up yourself, okay? So that's one way to get engaged and to be a part of the community and earn shekels. Now, it's time to jump back into our lesson. Let's get started. What was the lesson again? Oh, that's right. Jesus' baptism. So, when we're talking about Jesus' baptism, we're talking about Matthew chapter 3, and other gospel books as well. But Matthew chapter 3 is a great example of what happened at Jesus' baptism. All right, and first of all, you can't really talk about Jesus' baptism without talking about John the Baptist. He was a very important figure, a very important guy in the whole story of Jesus coming into his ministry, but because of his role. And this is the first few verses from the chapter 3, and it talks about John the Baptist preparing a way for Jesus. It even goes back into Isaiah hundreds of years earlier, saying he is a voice in the wilderness, preparing a way for the Lord is coming, clearing a road for him. Well, that outlines it very clearly that he's not the Messiah, but that he is preparing a way for the Messiah. And so think about this. Many people asked John the Baptist, "Are you the Messiah?" And what was his answer? Everybody should know this. "No way, I am not the Messiah." John the Baptist was very clear about his role and who he was, and he had no questions about it. He was very, very clear that he is not the Messiah. And then there's one interesting encounter with Jesus and John the Baptist, I think, and it's from verse 13 through 15. It says, "Then Jesus went from Galilee to the river Jordan to be baptized by John. But John tried to talk him out of it. 'I am the one who needs to be baptized by you,' he said. 'So why are you coming to me?' But Jesus said, 'It should be done, for we must carry out all that God requires.' And John agreed to baptize him." Little footnote here. Disagreeing with Jesus? You're never going to win that argument. Don't disagree with Jesus. Why does Jesus go to John to get baptized when we are well aware now and then they knew, many of them knew, Jesus was perfect, or at least If anyone knew, John the Baptist knew that Jesus was perfect. So why did Jesus need to be baptized? Well, let's think about this object lesson from a digital perspective, online, mental picture of a car wash. Now, pretend you're having a car wash with your friends at GSIS or at somewhere in Suwon, and we're raising money for the children in the Himalayas, and we have these dirty, dirty cars that show up. We have cars that really need to be washed. We have older cars, we have cars that we love to scrub them down and clean them up and make them look brand new again. When all of a sudden, this brand new Mercedes Benz rolls up, and the kids like all look at each other like, "Oh yeah, let's get that thing." And the kids start running toward it, but the parents stop them and say, "Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. This car is brand new. It doesn't need to be washed. It's perfectly clean." When the owner steps out with a giant water gun and says, "No, I want to join the fun, and I want you to wash my car just like the rest because I want to participate, because I want to show my support of the children in the Himalayas, and I want you to wash my car." And so they're like, "Okay, let's wash his car. Let's do this." So, the idea of Jesus is similar in some respects. Number one, I would say Jesus wanted to do this out of obedience from God. He hears God's calling to do this, so he does it. Jesus is also showing an example for all of us to follow. Jesus is also being sent at this point. Like a commissioning means to be sent to do God's work or do some great work for someone else on their behalf. And this is also because of our sin, that Jesus is not being cleansed of his sin. Jesus is being cleansed of the sin that he will take on, the burden of the sins of the world. And then it's also said that Jesus is fulfilling all righteousness. Again, it's connected with obedience. Now, if we go back to our 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus equals 1, then we know that at the baptism of John the Baptist with Jesus, we know that some significant and very important things are happening. After his baptism, when Jesus came up out of the water, the heavens opened, and he saw the Spirit of God descend like a dove and settling on him. And a voice from heaven, there we go, said, "This is my loved Son, who brings me great joy." All right, that is so powerful because you have the three in one. You have the dove representing the Spirit. You have the voice of God representing the Father, and Jesus present on earth, getting baptized in the water, all together, Trinity, Holy Trinity, three in one. Can you imagine being there? Can you imagine being with the disciples? I'm sorry, not the disciples yet, but some of them will become the disciples. And can you imagine hearing the voice from heaven, seeing the dove, seeing Jesus, and saying, "Wow, this truly is the Son of God"? Or would you question? Would you be confused? Would you doubt? Because there were both sides of this argument present at Jesus' baptism. They had Pharisees and leaders of that day that doubted that Jesus was the Son of God. And then you had many people who are starting to believe right then and there, this is him, and I will follow him, and I will leave everything behind to do whatever he asks me to do. Now, all of us come to the Father through the same Holy Spirit because of what Christ has done for us. This is the part that you guys are to memorize because this is so important as we think about the relationship that is created that was started through baptism, right? This is the very beginning. This is the beginning of Jesus' ministry and what he does on this world, on earth. And now the pathway is beginning to be open. The door is beginning to be open as far as how we can become in relationship with Jesus. It started with this ministry of baptism, and it ends with his crucifixion and his resurrection and the Holy Spirit entering into his followers. And so I want you guys to think about it that way. as far as it's really an important piece of our faith is to understand the Trinity, the three in one, and how we are in relationship with God. Now, some discussion questions. I want to leave this up for a few minutes. What are some other examples you can think of that show God is three in one? This is your shekel market question, as I mentioned earlier. Number 2, what would you have done if Jesus had come up and asked you to baptize him? Wow, good question. And then, what did you learn about why Jesus was baptized? Can anyone share about your experience of being baptized? Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this and watching this video. I really appreciate it, and hope that you guys have a wonderful, blessed week, and we will see you next time. Thank you.